My girlfriend lied to me that she was with a friend to cover her affair. Little did she know that friend was helping me pick our engagement ring. I blew her cover anyways. I'm Mark, 30M. Today I want to tell you a story that even now I can barely believe happened to me. Up until a few weeks ago, I thought I was the happiest man on earth. I had a stable job, a cozy little apartment, and most importantly, I had Sarah, my girlfriend. Sarah is 2 years younger than me, 28F, and we'd been together for 3 years. Those 3 years were the best of my life. Sarah wasn't just my girlfriend, she was my soulmate, someone I trusted completely. In my eyes, she was perfect, everything I could ever dream of in a woman. And so I made up my mind. It was time to take our relationship to the next level. I wanted to propose to Sarah. But, I'm the kind of guy whose taste in jewelry is, well, terrible, to put it mildly. I'm the person who sees nothing wrong with heart-shaped earrings. Seriously, why does everyone hate them so much? So whenever I wanted to buy Sarah a gift, I usually enlisted the help of someone with more experience. This time was no exception. I needed the perfect engagement ring, and I knew just the person who could help me. That person was Jessica, 31F. Jessica is Sarah's best friend, and she's my friend too. We hang out in the same group, and Jessica understands Sarah better than anyone, even better than I do. She's the kind of person you can trust completely, someone you know will always tell you the truth, no matter how hard it is to hear. Having Jessica pick out gifts for Sarah was something I did regularly, so it felt perfectly natural. Oh, and speaking of Jess, I can't forget to mention another person who has shaped my life, my brother David. David is 2 years older than me, 32. He's been my idol since I was a little kid. We're incredibly close. We can share anything. David has always given me the best advice on everything from work to relationships. It's thanks to him as my wingman that I even managed to win Sarah over. It wouldn't be wrong to call him my Cupid. That was my world, a seemingly perfect world. But little did I know, everything I trusted, everyone I loved, was about to crumble into a million pieces. It was a nightmare I would forever be trapped in. Things really started to get twisted from here. It was a normal weekend morning. Sarah told me she was going to visit her sister in a nearby town and also see her newborn niece. It was a common occurrence, but for me, it was a golden opportunity to put my top secret plan into action. I immediately called Jessica. "Hey Jessica, are you free? Come over, I need your help with something important." Jessica understood immediately, as she knew I'd be proposing to Sarah soon. She arrived and we started browsing through piles of ring catalogs. I was incredibly focused, asking Jessica all sorts of questions about styles, gemstones, sizes, and everything else. I wanted everything to be absolutely perfect for Sarah. Thinking about her smile when I got down on one knee motivated me immensely. Jessica was just as enthusiastic, offering tons of advice. As I was enthusiastically choosing, a thought suddenly crossed my mind. I wonder when Sarah will be back. I should order lunch in advance. So I pulled out my phone and texted her. "Honey, when are you coming home? I'm planning to order takeout, just want to know so I can time the delivery right." And then, Sarah's reply popped up immediately. She texted, "I'm on my way back now. Just met Jessica at the mall. We finished shopping and are heading home. You go ahead and eat first." Just a few words, but they were enough to completely shatter my world. I read that message over and over again. Once, twice, then 3 times. My mind was spinning. I looked at Jessica, who was sitting across from me on the sofa in my own house. She was frowning at me, wondering why I looked so dazed. I didn't say anything, just showed Jessica the message on my phone. Jessica took the phone and read it. Her eyes widened, her face changing from surprise to the same shock I felt. She looked up, staring at me with an incredulous gaze. What's going on, Mark? But I'm right here. I've been at your place all morning." Yes, Jessica was here, right in my house, right now. A sudden chill ran down my spine, a bone-deep cold from within, from an invisible fear that had just ignited. I knew something was terribly wrong. Sarah was lying to me. But why? And where was she? And with whom, if not with Jessica? That question circled in my head, haunting me. Everything became blurry. What followed was a performance I had to give, and it tormented me relentlessly. Sarah came home a few hours later, just as she'd texted. She walked in, beaming, and gave me a tight hug. I tried to hug her back, but it felt awkward and alien. Sarah chattered endlessly about her shopping trip. "Oh, Jessica recommended this dress. It's so beautiful, Mark. We even stopped by that new coffee shop. It was packed." She kept on talking, oblivious to the changing look in my eyes, completely unaware that I knew everything she was saying was a blatant lie. The more I listened, the more I felt disgusted with myself for having to pretend to believe her, and 1,000 times more disgusted with Sarah. Pain, confusion, and the feeling of betrayal swirled in my head. I looked at Sarah, at the face I had thought was perfect, the love of my life, and I wondered, why? Why would she lie to me so senselessly? For a mere outing? This made no sense. I couldn't understand it. Suddenly, the absolute trust I had placed in her for 3 years simply shattered into pieces. Everything became suffocating. We ate the food I had ordered, but I didn't have the energy to touch a single bite. She remained cheerful and innocent while I felt like a hollow shell. The food choked in my throat. Every time Sarah smiled, every time she touched me, I felt repulsed. It felt like someone was squeezing my heart. I just wanted to scream, to expose everything right then and there, to demand to know what she was hiding. But I couldn't. I still had to act. If she was determined to lie, then making a scene wouldn't accomplish anything, but that act of feigning ignorance drove me insane. That's when I knew nothing would ever be the same again. That lie clung to me like a fishbone stuck in my throat. It was incredibly uncomfortable. So I had to do everything to find out the truth. I turned to the only person I could trust at that moment, Jessica. I met up with her and recounted everything that had happened in the past few days, starting from that text message. Jessica listened, her face falling into a thoughtful expression. She also felt as though Sarah had used her name to cover up something. We sat there discussing the situation. Jessica advised me, "Mark, don't rush into anything. You need to find out what's really going on. Stay silent, observe, and see what she's hiding. If you confront her now, she might just twist things, blame you for being suspicious, and then try to avoid the topic." Jessica was right. The thought of proposing still lingered, hanging over me like a heavy burden. I didn't want to ruin everything if there was a major misunderstanding, even though I had a strong hunch that wasn't the case. More importantly, I wanted Sarah to expose herself, to have no room for denial. So we decided to investigate in secret. I would continue to act out the play with Sarah, while Jessica would be the silent agent. I started paying attention to everything, every tiny detail. I was going to find out what Sarah was hiding and why she had to lie so blatantly. And you know, once you start to suspect, everything just starts to reveal itself, little by little. Now I began to notice, Sarah had always had unusual schedules with appointments or urgent matters that often fell during times when she rarely used to go out. And whenever I questioned the location or time, Sarah would get annoyed and irritable, snapping at me, "Why are you asking so many questions?" Worse, it seemed she also noticed the changes in my behavior, so she started to gaslight me. "Mark, why are you being so controlling lately? I need my own space. You're overthinking things. I'm just meeting friends." She wanted me to feel guilty so I'd stop prying, or so it seemed. Then there was the money. Sarah and I had a joint account used for living expenses and also savings for our wedding. Initially, I saw small, insignificant cash withdrawals, but gradually the transactions became stranger, with larger amounts of money being withdrawn without any explanation. When I asked, Sarah would just mumble or change the subject. I started to scrutinize the bank statements more closely. The numbers kept shrinking in a baffling way. Every small sign, pieced together, formed a terrifying picture. I tried not to overthink it, but the feeling of unease grew and grew inside me. I knew something was wrong, very wrong. And I was right. Then, that terrible day arrived. It was late one evening, I was working on my laptop and Sarah was in the shower. She accidentally left her phone on the table, screen lit up. A message notification from an unknown number popped up. It blinked, and the content appeared right on the lock screen. And the message read, "I miss you. Can you come over?" The blood in my veins seemed to freeze. I was paralyzed. But just then, Sarah walked out of the bathroom. Immediately, I turned back to pretend I was working. She picked up her phone, read the message, and furtively glanced at me. But seeing no reaction from me, she said, "Honey, I have to go out for a bit. Just texted me. I don't know what's wrong." My heart ached, but I managed to nod, unable to utter a single word. Right after that, I carefully followed her. And on the way, a bitter feeling suddenly welled up inside me. The road I was on was a road I often traveled, and the destination could only be one place. In my heart, I continuously prayed to God that it wasn't true. I could handle anyone else. Please, just not the person I was thinking of. But the moment I saw her car slow down, then stopped completely outside my brother David's house, then she rang the doorbell and I saw my brother come out and embrace her. In my heart, everything shattered. Tears, unrestrained, streamed down my face. A chilling, disgusting, and repulsive wave ran through my entire body. I wasn't just being deceived by Sarah, she was having an affair. And 1,000 times worse, she was having an affair with my own brother. My heart felt constricted. Everything around me suddenly went dark. I couldn't breathe, but my trembling hands still managed to hold my phone and capture that cursed scene. The click of the camera sounded like a death sentence for my relationship, and for the unbreakable bond with my brother that I thought nothing could ever destroy. The two people I trusted most, loved most, the two people I had planned to share the rest of my life with, had stabbed me in the back. I just stood there, watching them go inside together, utterly shattered. I couldn't believe this was real. Was this my life? What did I do to deserve this? Everything was a lie, all of it. That night, I nearly went insane. My whole body was trembling, my mind reeling. I couldn't believe the horrible truth that had hit me. Sarah and David, my girlfriend and my brother, what the hell had they been doing behind my back? I couldn't talk to anyone but Jessica. She was the only person I could confide in at that moment. I called Jessica in the middle of the night. My voice must have sounded like a madman's. And when I told her everything and she saw the picture I sent, Jessica was equally shocked. "I can't believe it. That's disgusting," Jessica kept repeating. I lay there, tormented, unable to eat or sleep for days. Every time I looked at Sarah or David, I felt repulsed. But strangely, I didn't want to expose them right away. A crazy idea flashed in my mind. I wouldn't just break up with them. I wanted Sarah and David to pay in the most public and humiliating way possible. So I kept my original plan to propose to Sarah, and I even escalated it. I told Sarah I wanted to throw a big party, a pre-wedding celebration, to commemorate our 3 years together and introduce her to all our friends and both families before we officially got married. Sarah was thrilled. She thought I was being romantic and loved her more than ever. She immersed herself in the play I was staging, completely unaware that she was about to step onto a stage to receive her verdict. I invited all our mutual friends and both families. Of course, David was also invited as my brother. Neither Sarah nor David suspected my true intentions in the slightest. They still thought I was a fool, still believed they could continue to deceive me behind my back. But they were wrong, very wrong. I was going to show them the price of their betrayal. That day finally arrived. I chose a luxurious venue, beautifully decorated, and made sure to set up a huge projection screen right in the middle of the space. Guests arrived in full force, all our friends and family from both sides. The atmosphere was joyful and bustling. Everyone was laughing, talking, and raising toasts to Sarah and me. Sarah was visibly proud, circling the room, accepting congratulations as if she were the queen of the party. I looked at her and I felt nothing but disgust. David was there too. He stood near Sarah, occasionally patting my shoulder, congratulating me on our wonderful love. I looked directly into his eyes, but he just smiled and chatted happily as if he knew nothing. My childhood hero. How sickening. And finally, the climax. I stepped onto the stage, holding the microphone. My heart pounded with indignation, with the anticipation of the moment I was about to expose everything. I started with the sweetest words I had once intended for a genuine proposal. I thanked Sarah for the past 3 years, spoke of our love, of our beautiful memories. I looked at her, she was radiant, her eyes sparkling. Then I did what she and everyone else most expected. I knelt on one knee, holding the ring box. The entire hall erupted in cheers. Sarah brought her hand to her mouth, tears welling, thinking she was about to become my wife. I looked directly into her eyes, and at that very moment, I felt a shift in my voice. From sweet, it became cold and sharp. "My love, I've been preparing for this moment for a very long time," I began. "I chose this ring with your best friend, Jessica, on a very special morning. Do you remember the morning you texted me saying you were out shopping with Jessica?" Immediately, the smile vanished from Sarah's face. Her eyes widened, her expression shifting from radiant to pale, then to panic. I saw all the fear on her face. The entire room fell silent. Everyone started to sense that something was terribly wrong. Curious, worried gazes began to focus on us. "But you didn't expect that, did you?" I continued, my voice growing sharper with each word. "Jessica was right there beside me at that time, helping me choose the ring. So where were you, Sarah? Where were you when you were lying to me?" I stood up straight without an ounce of hesitation. I opened the ring box and forcefully threw the ring onto the floor. It rolled across the marble, gleaming with a cold, unforgiving light. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth with her hand, tears welling. She stood there, staring at me, her face drained of all color. "You don't need to say anything. I found out the truth, Sarah, about all your lies," I said, each word slow and clear. Then I took a deep breath, looking directly at Sarah, before slowly shifting my gaze to David, who stood stunned in a corner. He was frozen, as white as a piece of paper. "You didn't just betray our love," I continued, my voice now filled with contempt. "You cheated on me with my own brother, David." And at that very moment, on the large screen behind me, where romantic photos of Sarah and me were supposed to be displayed, the picture from that damned night now appeared. The image of the two of them embracing intimately in the deserted late-night hours right outside David's house. The entire room erupted. Whispers, shouts of astonishment, someone's shrill shriek. Sarah collapsed on the spot. She crumpled to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably, her arms flailing as if trying to grasp something. She tried to mumble, weakly attempting to justify herself, then tried to blame me, Jessica, anyone. But no one was listening anymore. David remained motionless, his face drained of blood like a statue. But I wasn't finished. I wanted them to pay for everything. "That's not all, Sarah," I continued, my voice bone-chillingly cold. "You also swindled all of our wedding savings to gamble and party. Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" I held up a printed bank statement, pointing to the large cash withdrawals and strange transactions. At this point, everything completely spiraled out of control. There were shouts, the sounds of things breaking. Everyone was shocked, furious, looking at Sarah and David as if they were criminals. I stood there, witnessing the chaos before me, and even though my heart ached, I knew I had done the right thing. This was the price they had to pay. The entire hall devolved into a chaotic mess. Sarah and David tried to escape that hell, but I stood firm, looking at the familiar faces, reeling in shock. But at this point, things took a turn I never expected. My mother was the first to approach me. She was utterly shocked, her face pale. Yet, instead of directing her anger at David or comforting me, she looked at me, her voice filled with panic and a hint of reproach. "Mark, what are you saying? David is your brother. He couldn't possibly do such a thing. There must be some misunderstanding." She even turned to Sarah, who was trying to flee, and yelled, "That girl seduced my David. What did she do to my son?" Then she turned back to me, her voice softening but laced with manipulation. "And you, Mark, you're too busy with work. You haven't paid enough attention to Sarah and David. There must be a reason, right?" Hearing those words from my own mother felt like 1,000 knives piercing my heart. I had just exposed the most horrific truth, and my mother was trying to cover up his actions. Hearing my mother speak, other relatives also began to shift. Some looked at David with suspicion, but no one dared to speak up directly. A few tried to downplay the situation like, "Come on, it's just the kid's private matter. Why make such a fuss?" They seemed more concerned with preserving the family's image than with truth and justice. I stood there, amidst that chaos, and felt myself endure a second shock. Not only had Sarah and David betrayed me, but even my own family, the people I thought were my last resort, had turned their backs on me. They chose to defend my brother, who had cheated with my girlfriend, instead of trusting and supporting me, the victim. The feeling at that moment was of utter solitude. I felt abandoned, betrayed for the third time, by the very people I believed would never do such a thing. I felt crushed by a boulder, unable to breathe. I couldn't stay there another second. I didn't care what would happen to the party or what anyone would say. I just wanted to escape that living hell. I turned my back on everyone, on the judgmental faces staring at me, on the whispers, on the suffocating atmosphere of lies and betrayal. I walked away, straight out the door, my eyes blurred, but I tried not to let the tears fall. Only Jessica was the one who followed me. Without a single word, Jess was simply there, the only stable support in my shattered world. And I knew, no matter how painful, I had done the right thing. After that fateful night, Sarah lost everything, completely. Rumors spread faster than the speed of light. Everyone looked at her with disgust and contempt. My family cut ties with her. I heard whispers that even her own family wouldn't look her in the face. That night, I kicked her out of the house immediately. She cried and begged, but I couldn't bear to look at her for another second. Our love had turned to ashes. The engagement ring lay abandoned on the floor, discarded forever. The wedding plans, our joint savings, she had taken it all to gamble and fund her sordid relationship. I had to sort out that financial mess alone. Losing money hurt, but losing trust hurt 100 times more. And David, my brother, didn't fare much better. His dignified facade, his image as the exemplary older brother, all shattered that night. He was exposed to his family, to his friends. My relationship with him ended completely. There was no brotherhood left. Even if my parents tried to reconcile us in the future, I would never be able to look at him the same way again. That betrayal was too immense, too disgusting. Both Sarah and David paid a heavy price for what they did. They thought they could deceive me, hide things from me. But no, karma came calling, and it arrived in the most public, humiliating way possible. That's the cost of betrayal, and despite the pain, I felt a small sense of justice. As for Sarah, the stolen money was indeed a painful financial blow. I heavily considered suing her. My lawyer said I had a strong case, but in the end, I decided against it. I didn't want any further ties to that person. I didn't want her to have any reason to exist in my life. I considered that money a cost for my peace of mind, a life lesson bought at a very steep price. My recovery process has been long and arduous, my friends. I've struggled with nightmares, with the haunting feeling of betrayal. My trust in people felt utterly crushed. I had to see a therapist, talking through everything to untangle each knot. Slowly, I learned to accept that it wasn't my fault. I might have trusted too much, but the fault lay with them, with their deceit. And my family. This has been the hardest part. My parents still try to reconcile us, especially my mother, who still says she loves David. But I can't forget how they turned their backs on me, how they tried to cover for him. I still love my parents, but our relationship will never be the same. I've decided to limit contact with David and even with some relatives who defended him. I have to put myself first. My life now isn't perfect, but it's authentic. I'm still on a journey of healing, but I know I'll be okay. I'm stronger, wiser, and I will never let anyone hurt me in that way again. Thank you for listening to today's story from the Guilty Notes channel. If this story resonated with you, please like, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional real-life stories and valuable lessons. See you in the next video.